Lord knows I'm allergic to bad things.
For a long time, the fans of Equalizer were left wondering whether Denzel Washington's journey as Robert McCall had finally wrapped up. After all, the ending of The Equalizer 3 in 2023 seemed pretty final. We watched McCall retreat into a peaceful retirement in a small Italian village, looking more content than ever before. It was such a serene ending that many people assumed the franchise had reached its natural conclusion. But here's the thing. Franchises rarely stay dead when the audience still wants more, and Washington himself recently gave fans reason to be excited again. In an interview with Esquire, Washington confirmed that not one, but two more Equalizer movies are in development. That's right, The Equalizer 4 and 5 are on the way. For fans like me, this news feels like hitting the jackpot. It's not just because it means more of McCall serving up his unique brand of vigilante justice, but also because it gives Washington more time in the spotlight as an action hero. He's been playing McCall since 2014, proving over and over that he can still dominate this genre even as he takes on more dramatic roles elsewhere. And in his own words, Washington admitted that the movies aren't just for the fans, they're for him too. He said, "I've come to realize that the Equalizer films are for me too, because they're for the people. They want me to go get the bad guys." That's exactly the kind of energy that makes these films so enjoyable. I think what makes the continuation of The Equalizer so exciting is how reliable the franchise has been. It's easy to say that some film series wear out their welcome after a couple of entries, but these movies have managed to stay fresh. Part of that comes from the formula itself. Each one gives audiences the chance to see Washington as McCall taking down faceless villains in creative and brutal ways, but without demanding that viewers be too emotionally invested in an overly complicated story. Sure, McCall's character has depth, but the movies themselves strike a balance between drama and popcorn action. It's this mix that makes them such a good fit for Washington, who is usually known for heavier, more serious roles like Malcolm X, American Gangster, and soon Gladiator 2. The Equalizer offers him a break from those weightier projects while still letting him showcase his commanding presence. It's also worth noting how consistently successful these films have been at the box office. The numbers tell the story better than anything else. The first Equalizer in 2014 made $192 million on a budget that ranged between $53 to $73 million. 4 years later, The Equalizer 2 brought in almost the same amount at $190 million, again on a relatively modest budget. Then came The Equalizer 3 in 2023, which grossed $191 million with a $70 million budget. Very few franchises manage that kind of consistency. Usually, you'll see diminishing returns by the third movie, but this one has maintained almost identical earnings every time. That kind of reliability is rare, and it's exactly why making two more films seems like such a safe bet. Of course, even though the formula works, sequels can't just recycle the same old tricks forever. That's why the idea of raising the stakes for The Equalizer 4 and 5 feels important. One way to do that is by expanding the cast with some big-name co-stars. The franchise has already brought in some strong talent over the years. Chloë Grace Moretz, Pedro Pascal, David Harbour, and Dakota Fanning have all shared the screen with Washington. Imagine what would happen if the next films introduced even more recognizable faces to either team up with McCall or go up against him. That alone could push the movies to new heights both creatively and financially. What's especially interesting is how these new Equalizer films fit into Washington's overall career at this point. Earlier in 2024, he hinted that he was nearing retirement. He clarified not long after that he wasn't leaving acting entirely, but that he wanted to be more selective about his projects. His focus, he said, would shift toward directing and producing, with less emphasis on the kind of physically demanding action roles he's taken on in the past. But now, with The Equalizer 4 and 5 officially in development, it's clear that he hasn't totally abandoned his action hero status. And it's not like The Equalizer is the only thing on his plate. Washington's schedule is packed. Gladiator 2 has already premiered, and he's involved in a remake of Kurosawa's High and Low with Spike Lee, along with various Shakespeare projects. On top of that, he's lined up for collaborations with directors like Steve McQueen and Ryan Coogler, plus a historical action film with Antoine Fuqua about Hannibal Barca. Oh, and let's not forget that he's been confirmed for Black Panther 3. So his career is far from slowing down. If anything, it seems like he's carefully curating the kinds of roles and projects he wants to leave as part of his legacy. Still, when it comes to The Equalizer, there's been some back and forth about whether Washington would really return. Even before The Equalizer 3 came out, director Antoine Fuqua said the film was designed to serve as the finale. He did leave the door open slightly, noting that he'd be willing to revisit the series if Washington wanted to do another. That comment put the power squarely in Washington's hands. But then, Washington gave fans reason to pause. In an interview with E.T., he admitted, "This is the end for me. It may not be the end, they may do another one, but it's the end for me." He even made it clear that money wouldn't be enough to lure him back. Considering he reportedly earned $20 million per Equalizer movie, that was a pretty definitive statement. So there's been a bit of a contradiction here. On one hand, Washington has confirmed development of Equalizer 4 and 5. On the other hand, he has previously insisted that The Equalizer 3 would be his swan song. It leaves fans in an odd position, excited about the news but not entirely sure whether Washington will actually return as McCall or if these new movies will go in a different direction. If Washington really does step away, that doesn't necessarily mean the franchise is doomed. There are a bunch of ways it could keep going. For one, Dakota Fanning's character Emma Collins could easily become the center of a spin-off. With her position in the DIA, she has the perfect setup to take over McCall's mission of helping people who have nowhere else to turn. The action might look a little different with her in the lead, but it would keep the franchise alive and could even open the door for Washington to appear in a cameo role. Another option is a prequel series. Fuqua himself has talked about the idea of exploring McCall's younger years. The tricky part is whether to de-age Washington digitally or simply recast the role. A natural choice for a recast would be Washington's own son, John David, who has proven himself in movies like BlacKkKlansman and Tenet. That move would not only pass the torch but also keep the character's legacy in the family. Beyond that, there's also the TV show to consider. Queen Latifah's The Equalizer series has been running successfully since 2021, introducing audiences to Robin McCall, a former CIA operative who helps people in need. While it's separate from Washington's films, it's proven there's still an appetite for these types of stories. With the show heading into its 5th season, there's even the possibility of tying it into the movie franchise. Imagine Dakota Fanning's Emma crossing paths with Queen Latifah's Robin. It would be a fun crossover. Of course, the continuity might be a little messy since they both share the McCall name and similar backstories, but audiences could probably roll with it if it meant a bigger, more connected Equalizer universe. The Equalizer franchise shows no signs of slowing down. Whether Denzel continues as Robert McCall or not, the films have been steady box office hits, and the TV series has built its own following. The possibility of spin-offs and prequels proves how adaptable the story is. Still, the most exciting part is the chance to see Denzel Washington return at least once more, since his mix of dramatic depth and action grit makes McCall unforgettable. Whether The Equalizer 4 or 5 is his finale or not, the series remains strong, and Washington's legacy as a versatile legend only grows. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.